Does that show it live yet?
Let me get over there.
We are now.
All right, everyone. So welcome back. Welcome back to the Mindful Nuggets podcast. It is another Monday night. It just seems like this just keeps flowing very fast. I don't know if it's
You're funny
me
with
getting
that storm that
older.
come through.
I don't
It's
know,
blowing right
but
through us. Yeah.
we're coming. I mean, it just seems like we were just here the other night. So, for those of you just joining us, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate you. Welcome back, though,
Absolutely.
Mr. William.
Well,
We
welcome back,
are
Michelle.
making some pivots tonight, and so let's
Well,
kind of
yeah, that gets to be the fun thing of life. I mean, Mother Nature's being bipolar at the moment. One moment is being nice and warm and cozy. Next thing you know, it's all of a sudden the hammer drops and it's frigid and
oh, that
throwing
is
temper
so
tantrums, throwing
true.
snow everywhere. And then you got, well, guess what? We get to deal with it.
We do, we do. I mean, unfortunately, I sent it your way, and I did not intend to do that. I would have much rather have blown it up north somewhere in that direction, but
Oh no, it hooked right into
it
us.
it went right into you all.
Yeah, that was a direct hit. But
So
anyway,
we went from 74 degrees yesterday to 47 degrees by early afternoon.
mm,
And then by the evening, and it had started to rain. So we went from
yeah,
bright sunshine to this rain, and then we went right into snow and sleet.
blizzard-like conditions a little bit. Snow's going this way at very high velocity, so it's pretty exciting to live on the edge like that. So anyway,
Yeah,
just as that with our podcast, we had anticipated having Paul join us tonight, but he had a family situation that he had to tend to, and family comes
yeah,
first, and we appreciate him being willing
absolutely.
to join us. But so we're going to table that discussion we're going to have tonight until he can come back and we can have it, because it's a really good discussion about going through a lot of our lives and, and not knowing that we might be addicted to something or we're struggling with something, and then our identity is tied into that. And Paul and I have both walked very similar paths, and we really like to talk about that, and how you break free of that bondage, because you
Right.
can't, and it's only done through
Absolutely.
Christ. So when we can be a testimony for those that are out there suffering right now, because you can't. All things are possible in Him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tonight we're just going to shift a little bit, make this pivot, and we're going to speak on the garden identity. What are you growing? So, just to kind of recap last week, though. Last
Mm.
week here on Mindful Nuggets, we talked about something many people experience in life, wearing the mask, right? We've talked about the mask, removing the mask. What does that mean? Where do you go from here? So, we're talking about the mask we wear to survive, expectations, the mask we wear to gain approval, mask we wear to avoid conflict. Oh boy, these are really hitting home in our conversations here. But once that mask comes off, something deeper becomes very visible, and the condition of the garden underneath it is what we're going to talk about tonight. So, tonight, Mr. William, you're going to kick us off with this
Oh,
conversation.
I'm gonna kick
You are
something.
going to
All
kick
right.
us off with this conversation.
So
So,
don't break toes. Okay.
we're gonna talk about what happens when life becomes overgrown, when roots get planted that we didn't even realize were growing. So let's
Okay.
have that discussion.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's first of all let's get some definitions going. Garden. What is the garden? The garden of
Mm,
life. Okay. Well, we are the garden.
we are.
We have soil that's prepped or not prepped. We have seeds that are given to us, and funny enough, this most people don't understand, but when we speak, we're speaking seeds into the babies, into the youth, like that, and especially what psychology calls the formative years on it. But this is the spiritual alignment years that you should be planting in there. So if you start telling the kid, you're worthy, you're worth it, you did great, you're wonderfully and fearfully made, you're awesome, you're going to do great things in this life. Well, those are all positive reinforcements, and those are good seeds that you're planting into that person because they believe in it. But unfortunately, there's other seeds that are going into the soil that are not so good seed, and they're poisonous. You know, who wants to put poison ivy in your own garden?
Not
No,
me.
no, but that sometimes happens. And a lot of times it's not intentional. It's because of what we picked up earlier on and carried in our garden and grew became what was the fruit of it, which is not a healthy fruit. It's usually bad fruit, but we're passing those seeds on to the other gardens that are around us. So when you're thinking about the garden, just think about your mind, then your heart, and then how the soil's prepared, or is it prepared, or is it just collecting weeds? And
Mm.
then, you know, a great thing this weekend, I was pulling up weeds out of my front lawn where I still put some flowers and things like that, and it got kind of overgrown during the last season. Um, and I was just thinking, how deep do some of these roots go? And then I can cut those roots, but they keep coming back. Identity is much like that. It's not something that shifts overnight. You yank off the plant off the top, but you're not getting to the root. And so
Isn't
when you're
that
not
with
getting,
everything?
yeah, just like
I mean, when you think about it, it's with your health, you're not getting to the root. When you're trying to solve a problem in life, are you getting to the root? Are you seeing what's actually
right.
causing that to happen?
So the surface is the symptom,
It is.
the cause is the root, which is unseen. So if you're going through like you're angry all the time, well, you have to stop and ask yourself why you're angry.
Mm,
Did
yep.
you look back at your younger years, maybe because you're angry because you felt unappreciated when you were young, and then you did everything to get attention and you were ignored, and that really made you upset. And that was a belief that formed that carried through your life, and it can carry through the rest of your life if you don't address the root of what's causing that plant to come up and surface all the time. Control's the same way. Usually, control, if you want to control something, manipulate, that's generally an indication of a insecurity
Or if
because you
you've
fear
been
something.
controlled most of your younger life, and then anger forms because now when you get out, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to be a part of that. That's also, those two go hand in hand.
Well, they do, and it's mainly because it gives some sort of falsehood pretension that you're going to be in control, but actually, we're not.
Yep.
It's an illusion. But the thing is a creation, and it's a belief, and that's a root deep in there. So again, we're looking at what's the fruit. The first thing we see in the garden as we walk into the garden is the fruit, the exterior of what's going on in our life, what we produced around us, our environment that we created because of what the root is that is causing it. So when we're not seeing those things that we like in the garden, and these things are bitter, or they're poisonous, they're taking over some good fruit, which happens too because the bad fruit's sucking up all the resources, and the new seeds aren't getting enough nutrition to grow.
Right.
Weeds have a tendency to do that. It seems
Weeds
to
will
be
take
easier to
over.
get the weeds, and the weeds last a lot longer than the good seed, which takes more effort to get to root and to
That's
grow.
right.
But once it
Yeah, the
grows,
weeds will take completely over if you don't get in there and get to the root of it and remove it.
so when we're thinking about those roots become your identity.
They do.
That's what you're known for, and you
And
associate with that, and then you associate with those things that are maintaining those roots. If you
those
think
roots
about
are
it,
the mask that you wear also.
yeah, with a mask, anything, yeah, if you want to, look at the mask, and yeah, it is, but it's not the real you. You
No.
weren't designed for that. Never were.
No, but
You
if you don't dive into that to realize that you're really not being who you authentically are, that continues to stay within you. So this is
Right.
where we come in for that transformative process. And I know we'll talk more about that as we continue through this
Now, while we're
conversation.
at it, if you like this and what you're hearing is resonate with you, hit the subscribe button if you would, please.
Yeah, we would
Pause.
absolutely love for you to hit that subscribe
It
button
means
and
a
come
lot
and
to
join us
us,
here.
and it helps us keep going. It gives us inspiration and not so much motivation. We're out here doing it because we want to provide a different perspective that will cause you to see there's things going on in your life. They're driving the train, and if you don't like where that train's going, we need to get off that train for a minute and start
Absolutely.
looking at why this is occurring, because they're patterns. They keep repeating and they keep growing. It's just like that thing, the dandelion in the garden. By the way, dandelions are good because you pull it up and make good tea. They're healthy for
Absolutely.
you.
Very
But
healthy for you.
like a thistle or things like that, the things that you don't want in your garden, they keep coming up and they keep spawning and throwing more seed out, and they keep growing, and it becomes a major problem to get it weeded and out of the garden. And that's where we call it, it's work. But you got to understand where it's coming from and why it keeps coming back, and then how to address it to get it out. Because ultimately, you want to get your soil, your mind, your heart in a place to where it's properly ready to plant and start getting your new crop that's going to come over time. And it goes back into Galatians 6 too. You reap what you sow. I don't, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It's an axiom that God put in place. What you reap is what you sow. So if you plant pecan tree or pecans, you don't get pecans. You don't plant peaches, you don't get peaches. You don't plant chaos, you don't get chaos. You don't plant something healthy that's prosperous, that's going to grow, you don't get that. You know, something that is intentful in your life that's going to be healthy. You plant it, it's going to grow.
Well, let's relate this to the modern day world of today. We were talking last night about children and
Yes,
how they actually, come to grab their identity. Because this is going to lead into who they hang around eventually.
it is.
So children grab an identity very quickly, especially in the younger stages, as we were talking about, because they figure out either how to play a parent by wearing one identity to
Mm-hmm.
the other, or as we were relating the conversation, parents being split and having to go from one house to another house, realizing that there's an identity that they carry in one home and then another identity in the primary home, which is what we were talking about last night. And this happens more than I think parents realize. And I don't think they're really putting the two and two together, that those identities are becoming separate. A lot of parents will think that they're just being pitted against each other, but that's really not per se what's happening. They have an identity when they go one place because they know how they can be or what they can get by with. And then they have another identity at the other home because they know what they can and cannot do there as well. But this plays out as they get older. And these seeds were planted in this situation from the very beginning because the parents don't realize that they planted those seeds. They were the ones who created these split identities.
It goes back to the scripture, faith comes by hearing, hearing of the word.
Exactly.
So there's a couple of things that we need to understand. So we're saying words, they're seeds, they plant. So what words are you using? Because power of life and death is in the tongue. How you
Absolutely.
so how you speak is what you create or destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't think about those things when we're talking about children. I know we'll a lot of times tell the children, don't do that, even though I did it, but don't
Right.
do that and you can't do that. And
Right.
then the first thing the kid's going to do is do that because they are going to replicate the action, not the words. But the words are teaching them because
They
they're
are.
planting in there and they're growing. So,
And
well,
kids are sponges.
they are. Well,
They are
they are
a
the formative
super
years that we're
sponge. They
right.
grab everything.
So they don't know any better. So we're creating. their belief system. And a lot of times we're transferring their beliefs that may not be true. Right. And
That's
we're
true.
handing them our baggage to them. That's where you
Yep.
get generational curses
Trauma.
over time
Yep.
because you're just handing it right to them because you don't know. You don't know until you understand that you're programming the children. And so if you want to program them for a better life, then you better start looking at your own
Absolutely. I
and
mean, I'm
understanding the
asking parents
beliefs.
to take a moment in this conversation to realize that maybe, and especially if you're separated parents, split parents, divorced parents, whatever the case may be, take an opportunity to really just kind of sit back and look at the facts. That I
Well,
mean, we're looking
it,
at the health of the children here is what we're looking at. And
well,
not only that, but breaking that trauma process as it
it
continues to.
right. And then trauma takes a while to get over. It's not something you can just pray over and it goes away. We're
Right.
talking about deep roots that have to come out. For
Right.
example, we were talking last night about, and I see this too, is one parent can be toxic. The other parent is the safety. So there'll be a mask of protection at the
Mm-hmm.
other parents, and it's in their fight flight. When they come to the other parent's house, there's a decompression stage that has to happen. There's usually an expansion of their emotions and trying to regulate back into where they know they're in safety, and that takes time. Did you even see that whole progression? And then before they go back to the next parents, usually they alternate like half weeks or a week or something like that going back. Then they right before they go, there is another compression series of they're on the nervous system's getting ready to be attacked again.
That's true.
Now, how do you think that kid feels when it's growing up? How does that translate into adulthood?
Always waiting for the next one, waiting for that next tap. What's going to happen next? It puts them on edge. It keeps that nervous system constantly just discombobulated, really. It's just constantly running and
There's a
it's
lot of
not actually being
anxiety. There's a lot
exactly.
of
You've got your
fear.
anxiety, you've got your depression, you've
Mm-hmm.
got your, restlessness, you've got nightmares and bad dreams and poor eating habits and emotional eating on top of that. So you're
Yeah,
creating
exactly. I
an
mean, I'm
array.
witnessing that, and so are you. At
Yes,
the same time, as we're seeing grandchildren that facing some adversity because of a split home environment,
absolutely.
and we don't understand that we're creating a lot of that. And again, that's where we're handing off a lot of baggage that we don't realize we're handing off. And there's nothing. A lot of times, there's not much you can do about it, um, other than let the child know that they're very loved and they're going to be okay, and just let them know the unconditional love that they are made for a purpose and they're wonderfully created. They're not junk. They're
They're
not,
gifts. They're
yeah,
gifts from
they're
God.
not dumb. All those things that we say to them, shut up, sit down, be quiet, all those things. Well, what we're doing is killing the creativity of what they were designed to create. We
Oh,
don't make
absolutely.
know what that is, but we're suppressing it. And it's because of us. And we're the responsible ones that's creating that. Michelle and I talked about a generation of being responsible. Well, my generation and my parents' generation are responsible for a lot of this mess that's going on now. But guess what? We can change that
Right. We're the ones that can change that. That's for sure. And that's
by
what we
setting
talked
the
about last
example in
night.
our leadership.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God
We,
does forgive. And then, once He forgives, you got to realize we're not going to go back to the same ways. We're actually going to step forward and stand up,
take accountability, take
be
responsibility,
accountable
be
for
accountable. Yep.
what that is, and put effort in it. Say, do not do. We're telling
Yeah.
you kids, do not do as
Right.
we did. Okay. Because here's what you see is the result. The generation now that our grandparents, most of them are passed away now. Our parents may or may not be here. Fortunately, I have one left, and my wife has none, and Michelle's got a
I've got both mine.
mother and
Yeah.
father. Yeah. So, but the thing is, we see the effect at our age now of what we were living through that we did see at the time, what has happened in the younger generation.
Yeah.
We can see that. We can see the patterns. We can see what happens when you send two people to a job. We can see the indoctrination of the children of how the government wants to program your child or the daycare on beliefs that we think are okay, but you need to challenge those because a lot of times they're not. They're not for you or the children. They're for themselves, whatever doctrine or agenda they have in mind
Yeah.
on it. And that's, is that
Absolutely
okay?
true.
No, no, it's not okay on it. And then we got to realize that we need to take different steps. But the fact is, since we can see that in our leadership, we can impact that. And then once you're waking up and you see what's going on, then that responsibility lies on you. You're just as responsible too as an adult. And that's what's missing is you're responsible for everything that you choose and everything's a choice. Believe it or not.
You do make the decisions on where you go and what you do after well, we talked about this last night, just to kind of follow that through. Um, I forget now who said it, but basically it was said that you can't blame your parents after the age of 16
Right.
because at this point you
There's
know
a,
right from wrong
right.
and what you should and
There's a
should not.
shelf life. So quit
Right.
hanging on to that. Here's
There
what I
is a shelf life.
recommend. Here's what I recommend. Forgive your parents. Forgive your parents. Forgive yourself. Reground and let's roll up our sleeves and move forward in the right way. Your parents may or may have not done the best they can. We don't know that. But what I do know
Right.
is you can't blame them for the life you're living now because you had a choice to change it the time you got out of your house. So let that sink in for 30-second mind shift that we do.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I mean, it's true. When are you going to be responsible? When are you going to be accountable for your own actions? It's either you're going to be responsible and you're going to create a new life for yourself, or you don't play the blame game for the rest of your life, which is not going to create any fruit. You're going to be
Mm.
miserable throughout your life. So that's the choice you got to make. Hebrews 12:15 says, "See to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble." Another verse, I can't remember the verse, but don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Oh, that's another good one.
And there's a reason for that. Because when you let those things dwell in your house, this is the only house you got to live in that holds your soul. Then you're gonna be out of alignment, and it's gonna cause disharmony. It's gonna steal your peace. And I tell you, peace is the most valuable thing that you can have on this planet. Because most of the time there's no peace. The world's not gonna let you have peace unless you choose to have peace, and that's a fruit. So yeah, roots are hard. They go deep. So take a moment and look at your garden. What's growing?
Is it overgrown? That's
Yep.
a real great question. Is your garden overgrown? I know I haven't literally have not gotten into my garden yet, but I know that it has a lot of weeding that needs to be done. A lot of work needs to be done. And that
Right.
is exactly what we're talking about in this, episode tonight. So we're going to take it just a moment really quickly. If you haven't subscribed to our Mindful Nuggets podcast here, please go hit that subscribe button as we take a few moments to just be with you here tonight. We are talking about the garden and identity. And right now, we're getting ready to come back and speak about your overgrown garden. So take a moment, hit that subscribe button, join us here, be with us every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast.
Please do. They'd love to have you.
Mr. Williams, so let's talk about the garden being overgrown and how you can't see the ground anymore because it's just totally overgrown with weeds and the dead of last year. We'll use our year of season here. We're coming into the spring season. The gardens are getting ready to come into full force again. You said you were going to put yours back out. So
Yes, I
anybody
am this
who
year.
has ever worked a real garden, they know what it's like at this point in time in the season to really need to get out there and work it. Um, get to those weeds and get them completely out of there. We have a lot of intertwining that goes along, like we were just talking about with the kids and how they grow and how they build their identities through, divorce or separation, things like that. They put on these masks because they know that when they're in one home, they go one way with that identity. And when they come back, as you and I talked about, when they come back, here they are. It's a very chaotic situation in the first, 24 hours of getting them back into an alignment. But again, another identity that they're having to take on when they're in that next home situation.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. Children shouldn't have to take on those, and the children should be able to have a good life, happy life, because it only comes once before
Right.
the world closes in. And
That's why
unfortunately,
it's
it's not the
so
case.
important to speak life into them. Speak
So,
that life into them.
right. Yeah. And then, instead of telling them no all the time, because no is something that steals creativity,
Mm-hmm.
start asking them, get curious instead
Ask
of using
questions.
control, which most parents do. We want them to be quiet or whatever it is. Tell them no. That's control. And the flip side of control is curiosity. Ask them why the behaviors that are happening are causing them to act that way. Instead of just saying no, start asking different questions, to a different approach when you're talking to them.
Yeah.
It's a relationship building
Mm-hmm.
that the child and the parent. Now you're the adult. Don't mistake me. What I'm saying, you're still the adult. But when you squash the child, it's pretty much making a robot or making a slave or holding a sword over the heads and behavior. Instead of doing that, say, I don't like this, what's going on here, but I respect you. And we're going to have a conversation about that. And I want to see how you feel and what's going on. Because here's the reason why I'm saying that, because we don't know what seed's been planting in that child. And the best thing we got, if we got weeds growing in there, is get them while they're not so deep. And we can pull those out easily.
Before they start intertwining with other roots.
And
And this
before
is
they
where
get
they
so
start
deep that the
coming into
behaviors, by the
hanging
time they're
around.
teenagers,
Yeah, they get around the wrong people. They start,
mm-hmm.
collectively getting a mind of their own that may not be exactly what you had expected for them, but what was created on the other side before they got to this point. That's the behaviors that they're going to bring forth. And we
Yeah,
do it as humans, as adults as well. We come out of this world, thinking we're going to be this way, and then we come into the corporate world or some type of job setting, and all of a sudden we're not happy. We're very overwhelmed. Um, we haven't dealt with past trauma and history of the generational side of things. So we brought that into the package of our adulthood. So now the identity is one way at work, but then there's another identity when we go home. And
yeah,
that
that's
plays,
that's a red light going off. Ding ding, red alert, red alert. If you have three different behaviors going on, where is the real you and all that?
mm-hmm,
There's some serious masks that are going on. There's a reason for it. And it's going back to the root of whatever's caused that, more than likely in childhood.
right.
Well, you can't be the same at work. Well, the thing is, I lived a life where I was at work. I worked a long time. Then I had social after work with friends. And a lot of times we'd go, this is years ago, but we'd go to the bar. And all you hear at the bar is complaining, whining, and either their spouses are horrible and things like that. Well, guess what? You're giving away some nasty seeds.
Yeah.
They're going to sprout and cause a relationship problem with your spouse on it, because you're not growing the right seeds. You're not planting together, for one, and you're taking bad seeds from where you're at because they pollinated you.
Okay.
And you're going to be the average sum of that. All right. So you got to be real careful about what your life is about. You got to find your purpose in life and your identity, what you're designed to be. Otherwise, you're doing drift and your guard's on. You're not tending to your guard,
Right.
and you're letting things in that's going to harm you.
Is
And it
anybody
gets
relating to how the
so
grass
bad.
is not greener on the other side because you're not tending to your garden? That's
Point.
exactly what it
Very
is.
good point. You hadn't fertilized it and got the weeds out and hadn't took care of your lawn.
So that doesn't mean that you jump that garden and go to another area because it's
And
not
you
going to
can't
be
steal
any
your
better on
neighbor's
the other
yard
side.
either. So you don't
Right.
have to work on your own. Okay.
Keep your gumballs in your own yard.
So, but we got to think about restoration. All right. So restoration is very important. All right. We got to get the soil back to a place to where we can actually grow something that's going to produce good fruit on it.
That's
And
right.
you can't do that with it overrun by weeds. And you got to get the roots up. And sometimes those roots pulling them are painful, especially if you've been traumatized. It takes a long time to work through getting all those roots that are real, real deep that hurt you, that did whatever it did to you back out. But I can tell you, God can get healing to that root, get that out of your life. He died for this purpose. So you have a way to heal. And we're not condemned to all this trauma. Here's another good scripture is Hebrews 9:14 is how much more will the blood of Christ cleanse our conscience. Okay, keywords cleanse, clean, get rid
Right.
of roots. The conscious. I'll stop right there on the conscious. I want to understand God is light. When He brings light into it, it brings light to not only the consciousness but the subconsciousness where the seed is at. It brings light to that. It reveals what the root problem is. That's how God works. We can only see outside of us. God can see in the heart all the way down to the core where that seed is and cleanse it. He's a great weed puller if you'll let him. But cleanse our conscience from the acts that lead to death. All right, that poisonous seed is leading you to death, whether it's in a relationship, or it's financial, it's your health.
So what you're
Those
saying
seeds will
is
do
if
it.
we pull the weed and we get to the root, there needs to be a new seed planted, is what you're saying.
We want to clear the garden because if we don't, well, guess what? We're going to get seeds from the lawnmower next door cleaning. But hopefully, it's good seeds he's throwing over the fence if it's real
Hopefully
green.
so.
So you probably want to be near him. But the other one that's throwing weeds back in your yard, you need to get rid of that. You need to put up a fence or you need to move
Mm.
on borders because you don't need those seeds coming back into your garden because what's going to happen is, again, there's another verse. You get out one demon of your life and you leave it empty, your garden is empty. Well, guess what? You got an invitation to 7 more that comes in and fills that garden up, or your mind, or your space, your soul, and it's worse than it was before.
Yep.
So you need to plant something that is going to be beneficial. It's going to produce good fruit, and you tend to it daily.
Yeah, don't leave it empty. Don't clean it out and leave it empty. Plant something
No.
good in there.
So the question is, what can you do? Well, there's a lot of things you do. Start looking at what's causing the actions on the outside. Start questioning about what is it that's causing that. Be honest with yourself. Why am I mad? Why am I sad? Why do I feel compelled to go hide myself in addiction? Now, addiction is not just all the major things like drugs and alcohol and all those things. Food addiction, shopping, those are all behaviors. And really what it is idolatry. You're worshiping that.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
And
If
but
you're,
the question is
addicted to
why?
pornogaphy, you're
Yeah,
worshiping that,
why are you worshiping that? Is a relationship problem, I can tell you.
not wanting to open up to the reality.
It's a relationship problem. A lot of it's you don't have a relationship. They're not a healthy relationship with your spouse, and it's definitely you don't have one with God on it.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
make sure when you get your garden cleaned out, and it's gonna take some work. It's gonna take some tilling. It's gonna take some fertilization. It's talking about reading and listening to things that are going to grow you, not destroy you.
During the process, though, you need to give yourself some grace. If you're really working on this transformation, you need to give yourself some grace. Now, what William and I do here is help you see that mask that you're wearing, and we guide you to the identity of the authenticity of who you are. That's what we do here. Our job is to help you grow from that trauma, from that place, whatever it may be. And we guide you and show you how to see the word and how he actually can guide you through the process. But give yourself some grace, give yourself some patience, be forgiving.
Oh, I would. I mean, while we're talking about that, Michelle, I know you were at some point. I was my worst enemy.
Oh, I was
Horrible,
my worst enemy for sure.
horrible. The way I spoke to myself was, I mean, I would speak to another person
Yeah.
this was, well, guess
Isn't it
what?
interesting how you won't speak to somebody how you talk to yourself?
Very
So many
destructive.
times, the things I would say to myself would never, I wouldn't even speak that, to a friend or anyone, that I didn't even care for very much. I wouldn't say those things. So we do that though, but we don't stop and think about how we do that to ourselves.
No, and we don't think about the programming because what we're saying that
Exactly.
because here the kids believe when you tell them something, they believe it. They open it's they're complete. They're faithful. They believe that what you're telling them is true
And
until they
remember,
start seeing
children
this.
they're
Okay,
innocent. So they're learning. That's their whole process, right?
all right. So
Grow, learn.
when you're speaking to them, well, you're just reaffirming the same thing you're telling that child as you're telling yourself. Faith comes by hearing, hearing the word. And that's
Absolutely.
why I'm saying that I'm sticking on that verse because it's true. If you don't say you're stupid, you're dumb, you idiot, and I've said a lot worse to that myself about that. And I mean, I like punch a wall a lot of times because I get so mad at myself. Well, I keep telling my subconscious that my subconscious just don't believe what I tell it.
You
And so
will
I am that
believe
person.
every bit of what you tell yourself. So
Yeah. So I believe I'm
why
that
speak to
person.
yourself that way?
And what does that do to your value, your self worth? It
And
destroys
that
it over
shows
time.
on the outside when with your appearance every day as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's a pathway to destruction.
It is.
So when we go down that course, we're coming out of alignment. And when we're speaking that way, we're amplifying, amplifying. That root keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And you believe it. And when you believe it, well, guess what? It's what you create. And then you
Hmm.
wonder why your life on the outside is messed up. But the good news is you can stop that and you can reverse that flow and you can come back to where you're not doing that anymore. I love myself. I am worthy. I am a child of God. I'm redeemed. I've been forgiven. I'm fun, exciting, and I like to go live life. There was a point I wanted to die and I almost got my wish. Now I want to live because it's fun. I get the opportunity to be out there, meet some really great friends, stretch, grow, do things I never got to do in my life because I flipped and changed what I believe and what I see, a new perspective, a new way of speaking. You speak life, well, life starts to become good. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you start to have joy and you have peace. And then when you start having that fruit, that's the fruit you want. Because now you're impacting other people and they're saying, how come that person's happy now? What happened? Because you planted something in the garden that was important.
I mean, let's look at the overall recap of tonight, right? A garden. You get in there, you clean it out, you plant new seeds, and you nurture it, you speak upon it, you talk to those plants. Again, everything we've talked about tonight, right? You yourself getting in, into the weeds of who you are, putting on that mask, not realizing that you're not being authentic. This is all going along with this garden path if you're paying attention at all tonight, right? You're going to talk to yourself a certain way. We're asking you, take a look at that. Look at how you're
No,
actually talking to yourself. Would you talk to your garden that way? Would you speak upon your garden that way?
well, that's the funny thing. It's ironic that we expect fruit out of our garden that we're not planting the seeds for it.
Exactly.
And so there's something wrong, something off. But the good news is, again, you can change that.
You
You can
can.
stop right now. You can make a decision to change that. And I can tell you when Christ comes into your life, it's going to change. It's going to get for the good.
Make that commitment. Yes.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I was studying, I think it's a couple of days ago. Mary Magdalene was noticed that Jesus had risen. She was the first one, a woman.
Mm-hmm.
A woman back in that time is like, that's unheard of. Nobody respected
Right.
the opinion of the woman, but the woman was the first one to see Jesus risen. And Mary Magdalene said, "Who is that? Is that a farmer?" Jesus is a farmer of your life,
Yes, he is.
and
Yes, he
his
is.
seed is worthy to plant in your life to grow something that he had already planned for you to begin with. It's
Well, you have to
us
come to
that's
him
not.
first and you have to say,
Well, you got,
I'm ready to
yeah,
get
what
rid of
you,
the bad seed. I'm ready to have a good seed within
right.
me. And he will plant that seed within you. You got to be committed though.
Well, yeah, well, you got to understand that what you're creating in your life is not in alignment. Then why you keep going after it again?
Right.
It's not changing. All right. The thing is, when we say surrender, well, surrender is not giving up, and then somebody's gonna boss you around
No,
or you enslaved.
no.
Surrender is actually freedom. It's the very thing that's going to happen. Is a lot of the burdens that you've stacked on yourself and didn't know that you stacked on yourself are going to fall off.
Yep.
Like taking as my pastor called it, a bus off his shoulders.
Yeah, it's a ton of bricks off your shoulders when you come to him and say, I surrender to you. Where do I move from here? He will
Let
move
him
you.
teach you how to grow a garden. See,
He
that's the
will.
thing. He didn't tell you I'm going to make you grow this garden. I'm not going to have you do it. He didn't do it that way. He teaches you, and he teaches you in such a way that you enjoy it. And when you get so far along this path, you understand you should have surrendered a long time ago.
Yeah,
Instead of wasting your
absolutely.
life.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's kind of do some reflection here as we wind up tonight's podcast. What fruit is showing up in your life right now? Do you have good fruit? Do you have sour fruit? Bad fruit? Let us know in the comments. Tell us what kind of fruit do you feel is growing right now among you? We would love to know.
You will be known by your fruit.
You will be known by your fruit.
Mm-hmm. That's Matthew 7:16. Is your fruit good or is it bad? Or is there any fruit or is it imitation?
Mm. And what root belief might be producing it? That's another great question. Where is
Well,
that
it really
rooting
is.
from? Ask
Again,
yourself that question.
right. Okay. So you're people pleasing, for example. A lot of people want to please people. Okay. Why is that? Because I tell people pleasers get trampled on all the time. And I know it makes you upset.
And yet they internalize so much anger too. People
Right.
pleasers internalize anger. And then one day it just boils out. It just comes to a real head. So if you're a people pleaser, again, think about this.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to change and not bubble over and bubble out?
Yeah.
Let us
That's
know in the
a good question.
comments. We want to know.
Well, another thing is, are you work in fear or do you work in faith?
Mm.
Do you know the difference?
Huge difference when you work in fear versus when you work in faith. I've
How
worked
do
in
you?
fear
Yeah.
and now I
Do,
work in faith, and it's a much different path than I never knew that working in faith could be real joy and peace.
fear is
And
often a trust problem, by the
yeah,
way,
it is. Fear is a trust problem.
because you
Somewhere
don't trust
along the
them.
line, somebody broke your trust.
Uh-huh. And when you
Somebody
start,
shattered your trust.
so when you have a trust problem, next thing that comes after it is control.
Yeah.
And then
Because
it
you're going to try and
becomes
take control of everything you can.
manipulation, control, documentation, ways to contain.
Yep.
Either you got hurt or you just enjoy it, which I hope you don't.
Mm,
But some people do.
that is true.
And that's another root that needs to get looked at that's causing that to happen too. Because there's some vindictiveness in that,
Yeah.
that something happened at the time. So start looking at what kind of fruit am I producing?
Yeah. Every garden tells a story.
It does.
But remember, your story is not finished. You have an opportunity to change your story.
Yeah.
You can get lost in your story and stay in your story, or you can change your story and
Yeah.
put better fruit in your story.
If you're blaming everything for your misery, you got a story you're living in.
Oh, absolutely.
And that story
Absolutely.
needs to change because it's keeping you trapped.
Yes, it is. So if you're feeling that way and you're ready to step out of that, move forward into that next chapter of where you'd like to be, reach out to us. Let us help you and guide you because that's what we do. Just hit that subscribe button, be with us each week, be in these comments, letting us know how we can help you. Tell us, where are you? What phase are you in? Are you still with that mask? Or have you broken out into your identity, but you're still a little shy about how you need to go about that? What part are you in? Let us know.
I'm
All
just,
right.
you know, I'm just really, really curious. If you really looked at things, how busy are you? And then compare it to a garden. Because if you use a garden analogy, you can use it for all aspects of your life. Michelle does. She actually grows.
I do.
She's a nutritionist,
My
so
my
she grows
garden is
things, and
currently growing
she
in my
put,
house.
yeah. She has steady life. She pretty much was she was dead with cancer.
I
She
was
said
left for
accepted
dead.
that no, and she changed her diet completely. She got on to what God created, not what man created, and she didn't accept man's decision. That's going to happen in real life. But the thing is, she's very familiar with the garden. Okay, well, everything can be related to the garden. So when in your life right now, if you're so busy you don't have time to pull the weeds out, then there's a problem that you need to
Right.
stop and look at because you're not time intimate in it. Why are you living your life is all you're producing is leads. Now, when I'm saying that carefully here, is ask yourself, is there a better life for me? The answer is yes. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
There is a better life, but you may not see that. And you only may see the garden of weeds. And maybe that garden is overwhelming. And
But
you don't
again, that's the story that you're telling
yeah,
yourself. So remember, that's you living in a story. So step out of the story.
step out of the old history. Okay. You step into a new life, which you create and rescript your life. When they say, all right,
Absolutely.
today I'm starting to weed this garden and I might need some help. And
Yep.
that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All
All
right.
right. All right. So we'll close this out. Jeremiah 17, 7 and 8. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord. They will be like a tree planted by water.
Not water, the living
The
water.
living water. That's right. Absolutely. The cleanser, right? Water, cleansing, cleanse you,
There's a lot to that. So
nourish you.
let's get the garden in shape. All right. So come back and
Absolutely.
join us next Monday. Hopefully we'll have Paul. If not, we may have another guest. You never know with us. We
That's
like
true.
the
So make
first day
sure
we
you're hitting
like,
that subscribe button to
yeah,
find out.
yeah, exactly. Stay tuned. There's more coming, and join us Thursday night on our devotional. I believe we're going to start here on YouTube as well.
Yeah, we're going to
We're
start
doing a
streaming
Zoom,
on.
do
Yeah,
shorts, but I believe we're going to go live on YouTube with our devotional.
that is
All
true. We're going to
right.
bring it to YouTube. So make sure you're coming out here.
All right. We love you and we appreciate you. God bless. And if you're really struggling and if you don't know what's going on or how to resolve what is happening in your life, there's a good place to start. Invite God into your life first. All right. Seek Him and He'll come. You may not know it
Absolutely.
at first, but you'll learn. Hang with us. Come let us be a part of your life. We'd love to be a blessing to you.
Absolutely. We're going to speak the word into you. Just stay right here. All right,
Yep.
everyone. Have a great night. That was your nugget for tonight. We'll see you back next Monday night. Hopefully, it doesn't go too fast. 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
on the East Coast.
Time. It keeps
I
on going.
know.
But I am thankful that I have time. You're
Absolutely.
not.
We didn't have time at one
We
point.
didn't have time. We
We
were
were
out of
told
time.
we were out of time.
We were out of time, but yet here we are. God
Here
blessed
we
us.
are. All right.
All right.
Thanks
Good
for
night.